Dawn Brancho lived for the ocean. Her passion for marine life, especially orcas, led her to SeaWorld Orlando. It was her dream job. She dedicated years to training and bonding with these majestic creatures. Dawn believed in the power of education and entertainment to foster appreciation for marine animals. Her connection with the orcas, particularly Tilikum, was profound. She saw the intelligence and sentience in his eyes. Little did she know, their bond would be tested in the most tragic way imaginable. Brancho was known for her calm demeanor and her ability to connect with the animals. She treated them with respect and saw them as individuals, not just performers. Her dedication to her work was evident in everything she did. Her colleagues admired her, and the orcas seemed to respond to her gentle touch. But beneath the surface of this idyllic world, a darkness lurked. The orcas at SeaWorld, while seemingly content in their routines, were, in reality, wild animals confined to tanks. Their natural instincts, honed over millennia of hunting and navigating vast oceans, were suppressed in this artificial environment. And Tilikum, the largest orca in captivity, carried a particularly heavy burden, a history of aggression that would ultimately lead to tragedy. Tilikum was different. He wasn't just any orca, he was a symbol of the complex and often tragic relationship between humans and these magnificent creatures. Captured off the coast of Iceland in 1983, Tilikum's life took a dramatic turn from the vast, open ocean to the confines of captivity. He was a giant, even among orcas, measuring over 22 feet long and weighing more than 12,000 pounds. His size and strength were intimidating, but it was his eyes that held a haunting sadness, a reflection of the trauma he had endured. Tilikum had witnessed the worst of humanity. The violent capture, the separation from his family, and the subsequent years of confinement were etched into his very being. Torn from his family and ocean home, he was confined to a small tank, a world away from his natural habitat. The isolation was palpable, and the psychological toll immense. The stress of captivity and the separation from his pod took a toll on him, manifesting in aggression that would have tragic consequences. His behavior was a cry for help, a manifestation of his suffering. Brancho knew of Tilikum's past. She was aware of the complexities and the dangers, yet she saw beyond the aggression. He had been involved in 2 previous human deaths, incidents that had cast a long shadow over his life and the lives of those who worked with him. But she believed in him, in the bond they shared. She saw a gentle giant trapped within a world not meant for him, a creature yearning for understanding and compassion. She saw a gentle giant trapped within a world not meant for him. Her dedication to Tilikum was unwavering, driven by a deep sense of empathy and responsibility. She felt a responsibility to understand him, to help him cope with the confines of his existence. Her efforts were a testament to the bond that can form between humans and animals, even in the most challenging circumstances. Her empathy for Tilikum was unwavering, even in the face of his troubled past. She believed that with patience and care, she could help him find some semblance of peace. The first incident occurred in 1991 at Sealand of the Pacific in Canada. It was a tragic event that would forever change the perception of orcas in captivity. A young trainer, Kelty Burns, slipped into a pool housing Tilikum and 2 other orcas. The playful nature of the whales turned deadly as they tossed her around the pool, preventing her from surfacing. The whales, perhaps mistaking her for a plaything, tossed her around the pool, preventing her from surfacing. It was a harrowing reminder of the unpredictable nature of these powerful creatures. The incident shook the marine park industry, but Tilikum's troubles were far from over. The shadow of that day lingered, casting a pall over his life and the lives of those around him. In 1999, a man named Daniel Dukes was found dead in Tilikum's tank at SeaWorld Orlando. The circumstances of his death were shrouded in mystery, adding to the growing list of tragedies associated with Tilikum. Dukes had stayed after hours, evading security to swim with the whale. His actions were reckless, but they highlighted the allure and danger of these magnificent creatures. While the exact circumstances of his death remain unclear, it was a stark reminder of the inherent dangers of keeping such powerful predators in captivity. Tilikum's story is a poignant reflection on the ethical dilemmas and the profound consequences of our interactions with the natural world. February 24, 2010 dawned like any other day at SeaWorld Orlando. Tourists from around the world flocked to Shamu Stadium, eager to witness the legendary Dine with Shamu show. The air buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Unbeknownst to the cheering crowd, a tragedy was about to unfold, one that would forever change the way we view orcas in captivity. The stadium was packed, Children and adults alike gazed in awe at the massive orcas gliding through the water. The trainers, clad in wetsuits, interacted with the animals, their every move choreographed to perfection. The energy was electric, a testament to the captivating power of these magnificent creatures. But behind the smiles and the applause, a tension lingered in the air. Dawn Brancheau, a seasoned trainer known for her rapport with the orcas, was performing alongside Tilikum. She moved with confidence and grace, her movements in sync with the giant whale. The crowd watched in awe as she and Tilikum executed intricate maneuvers, their bond seemingly unbreakable. But Tilikum, despite his years of training, remained a wild animal, his behavior unpredictable and potentially deadly. As the performance reached its climax, Brancheau found herself at the edge of the pool, her back to Tilikum. She was preparing for the final act, a grand finale that would leave the audience breathless. But in a horrifying instant, everything changed. The attack was swift and brutal, a sudden eruption of violence that shattered the serene atmosphere of the marine park. Tilikum lunged with terrifying speed, his massive jaws closing around Brancheau's ponytail with a force that was both shocking and unstoppable. He dragged her into the depths of the pool, her desperate screams swallowed by the water, leaving only a trail of bubbles as evidence of her struggle. The audience, initially unaware of the unfolding horror, watched in stunned silence. The water, once clear and inviting, began to turn a deep crimson, a stark contrast to the joy that had filled the air moments before. Panic erupted as the gravity of the situation became clear. The realization hit like a wave, spreading through the crowd and igniting a frenzy of fear and confusion. The crowd erupted in screams, a cacophony of terror that filled the air and drowned out any other sound. Some fainted, overcome by the shock and horror of what they were witnessing, while others scrambled for the exits in a desperate bid to escape the nightmare unfolding before their eyes. The festive atmosphere that had once filled the park vanished, replaced by a palpable sense of terror and helplessness. Children clung to their parents, their innocent joy replaced with fear and confusion, their cries adding to the chaos. The trainers trained for such emergencies sprang into action, their movements a blur of urgency and desperation, but it was too late. Frantic efforts to release Brancheau proved futile. The trainers' faces were etched with determination and fear as they fought against the odds. Tilikum, in a state of agitation, refused to relinquish his grip. His eyes, usually so calm, were now wild with a primal fury. He thrashed violently, his immense power on full display, each movement a testament to the raw strength of this apex predator. Trainers attempted to distract him with nets and food, their voices a mix of commands and pleas, but he remained fixated on his captive, his focus unbroken. The water, once a symbol of joy and wonder, was now a scene of unimaginable horror, darkened by blood and filled with the echoes of a tragedy. The attack lasted for an excruciating 45 minutes, each second stretching into an eternity for those who watched helplessly. By the time Tilikum finally released Brancheau's lifeless body, it was too late. The damage had been done, and the pool was now a silent witness to the tragedy. The medical examiner's report painted a gruesome picture, detailing the extent of the injuries with clinical precision. Brancheau had suffered from drowning and blunt force trauma, her body bearing the marks of a violent struggle. Her scalp was torn off, her left arm and 2 ribs were fractured, and her spinal cord was severed, a testament to the sheer force of the attack. The force of the attack was a stark reminder of the raw power possessed by these apex predators, a power that, when unleashed, could be devastating. The tragic death of Dawn Brancheau sent shockwaves around the world. Her death was a stark reminder of the inherent dangers involved in keeping large, powerful marine animals in captivity. Dawn was an experienced trainer, beloved by her colleagues and the public alike, making the incident all the more heart-wrenching. But for those familiar with Tilikum's history, the attack, while horrifying, was not entirely surprising. Tilikum had a long and troubled past, marked by a series of incidents that hinted at the deep psychological scars he carried. Tilikum's life in captivity had been marred by trauma and aggression, a testament to the psychological toll exacted on these highly intelligent animals when confined to artificial environments. The stress and frustration of living in such conditions often manifest in aggressive behaviors, which are rarely seen in the wild. Captured at the tender age of 2, Tilikum was ripped from his family and ocean home. This early trauma set the stage for a life of suffering. The separation from his pod, a tight-knit family group, was a devastating blow to the young orca. The The trauma of capture and confinement, coupled with the stress of living in an incompatible social group, likely contributed to his aggressive tendencies. In the wild, orcas form complex social structures, and being forced into unnatural groupings can lead to severe stress and behavioral issues. Orcas, highly social creatures, rely on complex communication and social structures within their pods. These bonds are crucial for their well-being, and the disruption of these social networks can have profound effects on their mental health. In captivity, these natural behaviors are disrupted, leading to frustration and aggression. The lack of space, the inability to engage in natural hunting behaviors, and the constant presence of humans can create a highly stressful environment for these animals. At Sealand, Tilikum was housed with two dominant females who, according to reports, bullied him. This constant harassment, combined with the stress of his confined environment, may have contributed to his aggression towards Kelty Byrne. This constant harassment, combined with the stress of his confined environment, may have contributed to his aggression towards Kelty Byrne. The incident at Sealand was a tragic reminder of the dangers of keeping orcas in captivity. The incident at Sealand highlighted the dangers of keeping orcas in captivity and the potential for aggression, even in animals perceived as docile. It raised serious questions about the ethics of keeping such large, intelligent creatures in confined spaces for entertainment purposes. Tilikum's transfer to SeaWorld did little to alleviate his suffering. While the tanks at SeaWorld were larger, they were still a far cry from the vast expanses of the ocean. The change in environment did not address the root causes of his distress. He was still confined to a tank, albeit a larger one. And his social interactions remained limited. The lack of meaningful social bonds and the inability to engage in natural behaviors continued to take a toll on his mental health. The death of Daniel Dukes, while shrouded in mystery, further solidified Tilikum's reputation as a dangerous animal. This incident, like the others, was a tragic consequence of the unnatural conditions in which he was kept. However, many animal welfare advocates argued that Tilikum was not inherently aggressive but rather a product of his unnatural and stressful environment. They contended that his behavior was a direct result of the trauma and stress he experienced in captivity, and that his tragic story should serve as a powerful argument against the practice of keeping orcas in marine parks.